Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creator, genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. Let me say that one more time, once again, for the cheap seats in the back, like I do every Tuesday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. Come on in and get settled. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement that is dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole plant based lifestyle. Welcome and come on in. Ah, no, I know I say this a lot, and I've been saying it a lot lately, but I think it bears repeating. I have what I believe is some really great stuff for you tonight. I've said that many times, but this time it should really hit. This is why I'm going to be talking the next 2 or 3 weeks about, I'll be doing a segment called Food is Power. I do believe food is power. It's not the only type of power. It's not the only thing I use to get healthy and get off the meds, but food is a huge part of it, right? We have got to get healthy. So, Food is Power is the name of the series I'll be doing the next 2, maybe 3 weeks, depending on how I feel and depending on the feedback I get. So, let's jump right in with the first one. Your taste buds, yes, your taste buds are lying to you. Revive your cravings in 14 days. Let me say that again because that is a mouthful. I'm going to make sure you are getting it. Your taste buds, yes, yours, mine were too. Your taste buds are lying to you. Revive your cravings in 14 days. All right, this talk is all about cravings and resetting the program, changing out some of the old recordings, changing out some of the ways we used to do things, and replacing them with some things that will keep us healthy, strong, mentally capable, mentally adept, being able to deal with things. So we're going to keep right on going. So this is all about cravings, how you can reset or recalibrate, as they say, your cravings and what you find tasty and delicious and what you actually sit around craving, right? So 5 years ago, 2020, it has been, yeah, it's coming up on 5.5 years. But 5 years ago, if somebody had told me, Anthony L. Carter, at some point you will crave kale, chickpeas, and cauliflower the same way you crave chili cheese fries, my precious red velvet, kettle cooked chips, anything with ranch. If somebody had told me I would crave these fruits and vegetables the way that I used to crave that junk, I would have laughed them out of the room. I would have said, Go, get out of my house. You don't know what you're talking about. You're insane. I would have laughed him out of there. That was 5 years ago, right? Things have changed. I now crave a lot of those things. I want to talk a little bit about, or let me share with you how we get duped because there is a plan, right? We do get duped. So, 5 years ago, 2020, I was diagnosed with hypertension. Like I say all the time, I never heard that term in the doctor's office. It was never hypertension. It was, oh, you have high blood pressure. Oh, let me put you on a pill. Oh, your blood pressure is 145 over 95. Time for a pill. You're black, male, and in your 50s. Time for a pill. So that was the diagnosis I got 5 years ago. Not a diagnosis about hypertension, but a diagnosis about having high blood pressure. Now, when I got that diagnosis, when I saw the numbers, when I was told, you're getting ready to have a stroke, and I'm surprised you haven't had one as of yet, let me just say, I'm going to be really honest for a moment. It did scare me. It scared me. It scared the living crap out of me because somebody I loved very dearly had a stroke and was comatose for a year. So I knew what that looked like, and I knew I did not want that for my life. I knew I did not want to put that on anybody in my family. I knew I didn't want to put it on my sisters or my parents or my husband or my grandchildren or The new one's coming up. The great grandchild is coming up in September. That's a different story. I knew I didn't want to put any of that on them. So I got scared, right? I was scared of dying. I was scared of living with shame, right? Being the old man popping pills. And I was definitely scared of being on medication and being on pills. That just scared the bejesus out of me. So I knew I had to change. Well, that's easier said than done, right? How do you change? How do you change when in my world and the people that I knew and the people that I grew up with and how I grew up, food was everything, right? I remember being a little kid. If I came home and I had all A's in my report card, right, and I made the honor roll, it was always, yay, Tony made the honor roll, because they called me Tony. It was always, yay, Tony made the honor roll. Let's go and celebrate. So we would go somewhere and eat, right? It was typically a buffet, all you could eat, right? And it was cheap in the 70s and 80s. Now, that was the response if I did well in school, right? If I got good grades. If, let's say, for example, I didn't get a good grade or I didn't do well in a test, the response is the same. You know what? You're feeling kind of down. Let's go out and lift our spirits. Let's go out and eat something, right? We go to the same restaurant. Whether we were celebrating, whether we were commiserating, it didn't matter. We would go to the same places. Now that's kind of weird. I'm gonna have to look into that one at some point and talk to my parents about what was the thinking behind that. You're doing the same thing whether you're, on high or on low. That's a whole other conversation. But anyway, food was everything, right? When I was growing up, food was everything. It was everything to me for a number of years, right? Even on into my 20s, 30s, and 40s. It was comfort, it was reward, it was safety. Some of the best times as a kid, I remember growing up visiting my grandmother and eating at her house, right? And I always felt safe, I always felt loved, I always felt seen. And I did not associate that with food until about 3 or 4 years ago. And I realized, maybe I don't like this type of food. Maybe it just reminds me of my grandmother, right? So it can happen. Let's move right on into four key points I want you to know about this engineering, this hijacking, so to speak, of your taste buds, because they have been hijacked, because mine were. The first thing, processed foods. Processed foods are chemically engineered to make you want them and crave them and want them more, right? Like I mentioned earlier, kettle cooked chips. I don't know what they put in them. I swear they lace them with crack. Same thing with red velvet. Same thing with anything with ranch. I swear, I don't know what they put in those kettle cooked chips, but they used to really get me. And there's some around. I may have to grab a fistful. I'm being honest, right? That's a weakness for me. So I don't know what they put in them, but they are chemically engineered to make you crave them, right? And as my brilliant mentor, Lisa A. Smith, says, you crave what you consume. So if you consume chips and salt and oil, you will crave salt and oil. Speaking of those two lovely items, let's talk about how salt, oil, and sugar hijacks your brain's reward system, right? You ever eat something that feel like, I can relax, or I feel better, right? I mentioned that a couple of minutes ago about being a kid, and we would use food to celebrate and commiserate. It didn't matter what you felt, right? You ate the same thing, you didn't, regardless, right? You ate the same thing. Well, salt, oil, and sugar hijacks your brain's reward system. Sit with that a minute. It does hijack your brain's reward system. Next point of my 4 points, food addiction is real and is normalized, right? It is real and normalized. I cannot tell you how many dinners I've been to growing up as a kid and even as an adult where you have around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, same foods, right? That greasy macaroni and cheese, which I think is also crack laced. I'm just saying that greasy macaroni and cheese, the ribs, the barbecue, the turkey, all of that stuff, right? Normalized, right? It's an addiction. You have people will have celebrations and they have to have the same thing in each one. That is an addiction, right? And you say, well, why don't we switch this out for this? Oh, no, 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 no. We got to have this, right? And once I learned how to cook, I got really addicted to the foods that I liked, right? I used to make the macaroni and cheese that had seven, eight, nine cheeses in it. I knew exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, let's keep it moving. Okay, here's the fourth point I want you to know. Your taste buds adapt. They do. They adapt. They can be rewired. They adapt. Like I said at the very tippy top, I now crave kale, Brussels sprouts, chickpeas. As a matter of fact, today, all day long, I didn't eat for a long time today. All day long today, I kept craving red bell peppers because I discovered last week that I could actually eat them raw and they're sweet and they're full of water and they're very good for you. And I have been craving them since I just made that discovery last week. Right? I've been putting them in things, but I was eating them by themselves raw for the first time last week. So today I was sitting around craving a red bell pepper. Yes, people, it can happen. The same I used to crave ranch flavored Doritos, but that's a different story. We are moving on. Okay, what I found was that I didn't want certain fried foods. What I wanted was the reward, right? The fried foods, anything that you're eating, more often than not, you're doing it because it's familiar, right? There's something to the familiarity of eating certain things, right? Like the familiarity of certain smells. There are certain smells I smell, it takes me right back to my grandmother's kitchen as a kid, right? There's certain smells I smell, it takes me right back to my first year in New York City when I had no money, right? There's certain smells, certain tastes that are very familiar to me that bring back memories. So keep that in mind. Okay, here's the big what if, the big hook, as they say. The big what if, the big what if. What if, here's a challenge, and it is true, and it is a truth, and I know it from personal experience. What if your taste buds regenerate every 10 to 14 days? Hello. What if your taste buds regenerate every 10 to 14 days? And what if you personally could help regenerate them? It can be done. I've done it. Let me give you some tips. So take 2 weeks and try it. That's 14 days, right? That is enough time to reset those taste buds. Week one, here's a challenge. Week one, give up the salt, oil, and sugar, meat, dairy, and all that, all that foolishness, the deep fried foolishness, as they say, and replace it with some fiber, some color on your plate, more water, hydration, right? If you're eating vegetables and raw vegetables and lots of vegetables, and especially fruit, it has tons of water, tons of hydration, right? Try that for a week. Now, let me give you a warning. I'm not going to give you something and I give you a warning. Let me give you a warning. I know this for a fact. If you take a week and take all that stuff out of your diet and add all that stuff in your diet, your body's going to get a little crazy. It's going to get a little nuts because it's not used to having to digest those types of foods. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to give you the big W. You will go through withdrawal. I didn't know this. When I started my journey, I didn't know this. I knew I was pissed off all the time. And I knew that I was feeling all these emotions. And I knew I was no longer for some of the foolishness, some of the shenanigans, some of the tomfoolery I had put up with for a number of years with certain people. That was out, right? And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know. All I knew was I was not for the shenanigans. Now I hadn't been for the I was not for the shenanigans for a while, for a good chunk of my life. But when I did this reset and did this week without all this stuff in it, no salt, no sugar, no meat, no dairy, no sugar, added fiber, added color, added hydration, started going to bed at a decent time, getting up at a decent time. Just that 1 week of changing, I was going through withdrawals. And I was hell on wheels, right? And everybody was getting on my nerves. And I realized I had been using food like I had as a little kid to regulate my emotions, right? So if I was feeling too excited, I would do the same. I was doing the same thing at 50 and 52. I was doing it at 7 years old. That's a little scary. And I'm a little about admitting it, but I was using food for the same purpose, right? Using it to celebrate, using it to commiserate, right? So I was doing the same thing. I took all that out and started going through withdrawals. People were pissing me off left, right, and center. I was handing out pink slips left, right, and center. So it can happen. It will happen. So just be forewarned. Okay, second week, you get to recalibrate and retrain your taste buds. You will start to want other things. You will start to crave other things. Things will start tasting different to you, right? I remember when I first went on my journey and I gave up a lot of this stuff. I remember um, my husband was cooking some meat. He was making a hamburger or something. And I was asleep. I had fallen asleep on the couch, was taking a nap. And I woke up and I said, "What is that?" I didn't know what it was. And I thought it was, I thought somebody had thrown some spoiled meat in the house or something. I was like, "What is that?" And I woke up and it wasn't that the meat was spoiled. My taste buds had changed. So I woke up and I'm looking around like, what is going on in here? Like, what, well, we've been kidnapped. What is going on? So you will recalibrate. You can retrain your brain. You can retrain your taste buds and your cravings will shift. Now, let me leave you with a bit of knowledge. Okay, I'm going to close with this. Every bite is a vote for the life you want or the one you're settling for. That is a bar, as the young kids say. I'm going to say that a couple of more times because I like it and I like the way it sounds. Every bite is a vote for the life you want or the one you're settling for. Period. End of subject. Point blank frank. So keep that in mind when you're eating. I'm really considering doing an episode based on my grandmother, may she rest in peace. Um, Something along the lines of uh, digging our grave with our teeth. She used to always talk about that, digging your grave with your teeth, which I find hysterical. I might do that later on. Maybe that'll be next week. It might be the week after. I haven't quite decided. All right, but let me end with that. Every bite is a vote for the life you want or the one you are willing to settle for. Period. Those chips, that is a bite for the life you want or the one you're willing to settle for. And it's up to you, my friends. All right, I'm gonna get out of here now. Now, before I go, be sure and check me out. I have a brand new YouTube channel called Plant Powered Brothers, hence the name change of this talk. Keeping that marketing going. So, Plant Powered Brothers on YouTube, check it out. I drop new videos every week, usually two or three, maybe sometimes four. Um, Anything that's on Facebook Live ultimately ends up on YouTube. So check out Plant Powered Brothers if you want to binge. There's a whole lot of me on that YouTube channel. So check us out, Plant Powered Brothers. Subscribe, smash that like button, and join the fold, join the community. Get rid of those cravings and rewire those taste buds. Also, if you like to work with me one on one and or join the community of Black men who are committed to making their health an asset and not what? A liability. An asset and not what? A liability. If you want to join that community, by all means, click on the Calendly link and set up an appointment with me. I'm offering free 30-minute strategy sessions, free 30-minute coaching sessions for people who are interested and want to find out whether or not this is a match. Incidentally, we had a wonderful masterclass this past week with some really great stuff that came out of it. Some people were really excited about snatching back their health, eating like they had some sense. So that was exciting. It was a small group of Black men who were, I think, maybe my age, maybe a little older, but it was a small group of Black men who were committed to making a change. It was a wonderful thing to see. All right, I'm going to get out of here now. Before I go, get some plants on that plate. Take care of your loved ones. Let your loved ones take care of you. Most importantly, eat like you got some sense and stay away from that deep fried foolishness. All right. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. Let me say that one more time, like I do every Tuesday, for who? The cheap seats in the back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. It is a movement dedicated to supporting Black men 40 to 60 who are committed to combating hypertension without the use of medication and the addition of a whole food plant based lifestyle. I will see you soon. Take care of yourself. Bye now.